Why did the website come down? Why do we not know what is happening? Why are we going back to those days of secret decisions being made by you and whomever else in terms of the spending of the dollars that we constitutionally enact here when we put these bills into law with congressionally directed resources that serve the American people? Tell me what happened. Why did you change what you were doing for 2 months or what you're...
Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. If you love America, the Constitution, and exposing government overreach, then you're in the right place. Today we're talking about a congressional hearing that sums up everything that's wrong with Washington bureaucrats and the so-called transparency that the left claims to love, until it applies to their own power. Let's break down what happened, why it matters, and why, as freedom-loving patriots, we should be fired up about this.
Director Vogt, after an appropriation is enacted, the first thing that happens is before an agency can deliver the promises to the American people is OMB has to make funding available through a legally binding decision known as an apportionment. In essence, you are the first and sometimes biggest bureaucratic hurdle that stands between American taxpayers and the services, support, and protections they have promised in spending laws. And for over 100 years, apportionments were secret. Reiterate, these decisions were effectively laws that you and your also unelected predecessors made whenever you liked without accountability or transparency. I fought on a bipartisan basis, bicameral basis, alongside members of this subcommittee for 4 years to change that. We enacted simple transparency requirements because this committee and the Congress need information to effectively legislate. Independent watchdog organizations deserve the information to help the American public understand how your decisions affect their lives. 3, most importantly, the American taxpayers are entitled to see how you, your predecessors, and every OMB director, how you are spending their money. My question is, you do not think, Director Vogt, that Congress deserves to know how you carry out the laws that we enact. You do not believe that American taxpayers deserve to see how you spend their money, do you?
No, I don't think that characterization is true. We do. That's one of the reasons why we come up to the Hill and testify, and we explain our decisions. We believe that apportionments are legally binding, but not final agency actions, and that it is part of a pre-decisional deliberative process on behalf of the executive branch to be able to manage agencies and the programs therein. And what we found in the last 4 years in which the law that you worked hard to put into place that we have constitutional concerns about is that it actually degraded the oversight responsibilities that OMB had, in that we would the people would actually change.
Excuse me, Mr. Director, because my time is running out. You know, in all fairness, I had this debate and discussion. I'm not just having it with you. I had a debate and discussion on this with your predecessor and others with the same argument and so forth. The American people, the Congress who legislate and enacts the laws, has to have the ability to understand what you're spending, how you're doing it, at what intervals, and so forth. And also, let me just say, this requirement, as I say, was debated for 4 years, including with you specifically during your prior tenure as OMB Director. Your predecessor did comply with the law for over 2 years, and you followed this law for 2 months. What happened? Why did the website come down? Why do we not know what is happening? Why are we going back to those days of secret decisions being made by you and whomever else in terms of the spending of the dollars that we constitutionally enact here when we put these bills into law with congressionally directed resources that serve the American people? Tell me what happened. Why did you change what you were doing for 2 months or what your predecessor was doing over the last couple of years?
Well, we had constitutional concerns with the provision. We had a veto threat against this provision in the first term. If it was presented while the president was still in office, I expect you would have had a signing statement that said, not unlike our letter to the committee, not unlike the DOJ's letter to the committee, we have constitutional concerns with it. And It's something that degraded our ability to manage taxpayer resources and do the
We
very
passed a
responsible.
law, and with all due respect, again, I think the level of your honesty on your claims just really shines through on this topic, and there probably isn't much more point in discussing it, but that goes at the very fact you make up constitutional issues, where the Constitution places that power of the purse within this body and within an appropriations committee. Historically, it is there. But you make a decision as to what you want to do, what you think is Constitution or not Constitution without any basis in fact, thereby pulling down that website that allows us to see what you are doing. You are, and we have no way of knowing if you are carrying out what we have lawfully required the executive branch to do. That is our responsibility, and your responsibility is to carry out what it is that we have appropriated here. You just can't pick and choose whatever the hell you want and going forward, if it says, and I yield back the balance of my time.
We just watched Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro grilling the Office of Management and Budget Director about something called apportionments. Now, for over 100 years, these bureaucrats have been making crucial spending decisions behind closed doors. Think about that. Unelected officials deciding where your hard-earned tax dollars go with zero accountability. And Congress, the body that's supposed to have the power of the purse, has been kept in the dark. Now, DeLauro claims she fought for transparency so Congress, watchdogs, and the American people could see how our money is actually spent. Sound good, right? But here's where it gets interesting. The OMB Director, instead of celebrating transparency, tells Congress that these apportionments are part of a pre-decisional deliberative process. In other words, it's a bunch of bureaucratic mumbo-jumbo to keep doing business in secret. He claims making these decisions public would somehow degrade oversight. That's right. The government looking at itself is more important than you seeing where your money goes. Even worse, he says they have constitutional concerns. Look, I'm all for the Constitution, but this isn't about defending the founders' vision. This is about unelected bureaucrats protecting their own power from the people who are supposed to hold them accountable. The most outrageous part? For 2 years, under a previous director, the OMB actually complied with the law and posted these apportionments online for everyone to see. But this current director comes in and, after just 2 months, pulls the plug. No more public website, no more transparency, back to business as usual in the shadows. Why? Because the second they're actually forced to answer to Congress and the American people, suddenly there's a constitutional crisis. Give me a break. Let's remember, the Constitution gives Congress, not the executive branch, the power of the purse. That means the people's elected representatives decide how taxpayer money is spent, not a faceless bureaucracy. But this hearing shows how far we've drifted from the founders' intent. Now, unelected officials think they can ignore the law, hide their decisions, and tell Congress to mind its own business. That's not just arrogance, it's dangerous. As a right-wing patriot, I am sick and tired of this breed of deep state bureaucrats who think they're above the law, above the Constitution, and above the American people. Every time Congress tries to shine a little light on their operations, they claim it's a threat to their oversight responsibilities. Well, guess what? The only oversight that matters is the one we, the people, have over our government. This is why we need strong conservative voices in Congress, people who will fight to take our government back from the bureaucrats. We need more transparency, more accountability, and more respect for the Constitution. And we need to support leaders who will stand up to these unelected power brokers, not make excuses for them. So, if you agree that the American people deserve to know how their money is spent, hit that like button, subscribe for more patriotic content, and share this video so we can wake up more Americans to what's really going on in Washington. Drop a comment below. Do you think these agencies should be forced by law to post every cent they spend online for all of us to see? Or do you trust the deep state to do the right thing behind closed doors? I know where I stand. Thanks for watching. God bless you. and God bless the United States of America.